Fiona.
Fiona.
Hurricane Fiona.
It doesn't feel like the usual storms that we get along the East Coast in Nova Scotia. This is a different beast altogether.
Everything aligned in the atmosphere to produce a once-in-a-100-year storm.
Under the cover of darkness on September 24th, 2022, the unprecedented storm reached Nova Scotia with winds as strong as a Category 2 hurricane.
Destruction that we saw in that hurricane was definitely more than I'd ever seen in the Maritimes.
Thanks to extraordinarily low atmospheric pressure, the lowest pressure of any Canadian storm. Fiona also became the most expensive extreme weather event in Atlantic Canadian history, with $660 million in damages.
We have recorded gusts well over 100 kilometers an hour. It's going to be flooding pretty soon.
The town of Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, was hit especially hard. 100 homes totally destroyed, many completely washed away to sea.
My heart went out to all the people there in Newfoundland and Labrador. Whole trees were coming down and the power was out. Everything was completely dark.
In fact, the post-tropical cyclone knocked out power for 1 million people and eroded hundreds of kilometers of coastline.
I remember we were up on top of the dock and realized that I needed to get off the dock fairly quickly because we could see the surge beginning to come around and sort of cut us off. And I was on air and I literally said, okay guys, we have to leave right now.
The winds were getting so strong that trees were coming down like right beside me. It became kind of scary. The airport was shut down. There was no gas on the island.
In the days after Fiona, military and federal assistance came in as displaced residents filled shelters and roads were unsafe to travel and multiple states of emergency were called. Fiona underscored the need for constant planning and resilient infrastructure, with climate change bringing severe weather like this more frequently.
Especially with the location of Atlantic Canada to the Atlantic Ocean. In fact, the land is sinking around Atlantic Canada, so you're also battling the rising sea level, which could be upwards of 1 meter through the 21st century. The glaciers back around Hudson Bay act like a teeter-totter. We're getting the land rising around Hudson Bay, but it's sinking, unfortunately, across Atlantic Canada. So storm surge will be an enhanced threat as we go through this new world with climate change.
This September brought another sprawling post-tropical system, Lee. Not as catastrophic as Fiona, but still with 200,000 without power.
September, you have to be on guard for a significant amount of power outages. All the trees have their foliage. That means you're more vulnerable to power outages, and that's exactly what we saw with Lee.
Back in September 2019, it was Dorian, the most destructive storm and most outages recorded across Atlantic Canada before Fiona. September 2003, it was Juan that barreled through the region.
It has the wind gust record for Halifax, over 140 kilometers an hour. And to this day, that remains one of the strongest wind gusts in September history that actually made landfall as a hurricane.
I'm noticing a trend. Juan, Dorian, Lee, quite the trend. These are all September hurricanes, including Fiona. Why September? Why is this the month of severity?
We're getting those cool air masses coming down from Canada, and they'll essentially scoop up these hurricanes that are meandering around the Atlantic basin, and it's peak water temperature as well. So with that warm water, like a bathtub, that will slingshot the threat for hurricanes towards Atlantic Canada in September. The threat of flooding and flash flooding with hurricanes will go up as we warm the atmosphere. And of course, the intensity, we're noticing a trend of frequent, rapid intensification. That means hurricanes can really throttle up their intensity with little notice.